Oizogo, I see that you are here. So we are live. This is the second National Asian Heritage Month Symposium, and we are here for the final First Nations reflection chat for this particular symposium, but we do hope that we continue these First Nations and Métis Inuit reflections chats as we move forward, that we hopefully can find other ways that we can connect and share across culture and across indigeneity. So again, we are here by a number of First Nations elders. We are using the same protocols that we typically use in these chats, that it's the First Nations elders space, and it's the First Nations Métis and Inuit space. So we will refrain from asking any questions unless they give us an opening. If you see in the chat that they have asked us, and I can reiterate so you know who they are, if they ask us, do you have any questions? That's our only opening, but otherwise this is their space and their time. So I'm gonna pass the floor over to Martin and Oizogo. Thanks again for being here.
Agwida Noro here. Good to see everybody. I'm pleased to be here as usual, as they say it often in these situations at conferences and so on. I enjoyed my time in the last 2 days. I would say that without a doubt, it's been an eye-opening experience and an educational experience. And also it's kind of like, not to say I've heard it before, it sounds like kind of like a put down, but everything that people have, most of the presenters that have spoken, I think are going across familiar territory for me. You know, that I understand what the issues are, and I'm sure if many of the Asian artists and people from the diaspora and so on were to attend an Indigenous arts conference, many of the same issues would be like, oh, that is very familiar. So there's a lot of common ground, you know, not only in the artistic disciplines that we might practice or you know, try to present to public or to our own people, and to encourage young people and old people alike to get involved with. Much of it is familiar. So you know, like I said, it was an eye-opening experience, educational experience, and you know, like I said last night, I would undoubtedly you know, welcome collaborations, allyships. You know, the door is certainly open in my mind anyway. There's so much that we can share and learn from each other. So you know, I'm pleased to be here, and thanks again for inviting me, Farah. I was really honored to participate.
Thank you.
Anybody else out there?
I'm sorry, I'm just going to interrupt. I think that Oizogo is testing the sound. So Oizogo, you're still on mute.
Oh. Hey, there he is.
Okay, wait, hang on just a second. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah. It sounds like you're on auto tune.
I have echoes.
Yeah, a little. You got some audio software working on a mixtape, or? No, we're all learning on this this technology stuff. Even I thought that I knew most of it, and it's like, oh no, what do you do in this situation? It's a mystery.
Okay, how are we now? Okay, now? Good?
Better.
Can you hear me good?
Can you hear us at all?
Yeah.
Do we sound normal?
Yeah, now it's much better on my side anyway.
Okay. Farah?
Yes, all good. Thank you.
Okay, awesome.
So just because Oizogo just joined with the sound and Tewenhni'tó, we're doing the First Nations chat until 4:45, and then that's when we'll start the closing ceremonies. So take it away. We're so curious to know what you felt about this symposium and if you have any final thoughts for us.
Well, I thought it was pretty interesting. There's so much out there that we really thought that people actually know about us. And I did hear a lot of speaking too about opportunities that we have and that we have to actually take the time and make those opportunities happen. So it's all on us.
I like what you said earlier today, Farah, about submitting to grants agencies. You know, even if not to say Canada Council isn't open to everyone and so on. At one time, Canada Council was kind of like a closed shop. You know, like English-speaking Canadians and Francophone-speaking Canadians. You know, in big quotations, pretty much had a corner on the market and took the lion's share of grants and that sort of thing. And they often, in my estimation, looked at Indigenous arts as kind of like a craft, you know, looked at it as it's kind of like not, you know, kind of trained university, Beaux-Arts, fine arts, high arts kind of deal, but over, I guess probably since the early 90s, and probably even before that through the Royal Commission on Indigenous People or Aboriginal people, I guess at the time, and their mandates and their orders to museums and galleries. They put them on notice, you know, that they have to be more inclusive to Indigenous people anyhow. And they have made some changes, and they have instituted the Canada Council anyhow, a kind of like a track where emerging artists, mid-career artists, and established artists, you know, have a track and have officers there and granting officials and juries and so on that will look at applications from Indigenous people from across Canada with a kind of like an expert vision, an expert eye in a sense, you know, like we don't have to educate, you know, a jury about what we consider is fine art, what we consider important, you know, because you know, kind of like Euro-Canadian, you know, people from the cities and what have you have their own, you know, vision of what Canadian art is or Indigenous art or art in general kind of deal. So these things have changed, but I know a year ago, it was about this time a year ago, it was November, it'll be a year, I was on a jury at the Canada Council, and one of the things that continued to come up was, you know, that people need to submit. And, you know, one of the things that's kind of like what came first, you know, like the chicken or the egg and all this kind of stuff. So if you have a lot of people submitting grants, so a bigger pool, so the percentage of people who actually get grants is smaller, right? If you have fewer people that submit grants, then, you know, I guess that your chances are even better. But the devil is in the details, right? So if there are a lot of applications, right, then it proves to the funding agencies that there is a demand, that there are actively artists out there trying to submit grants in, you know, whatever field, if it's dance or theater or visual arts, sculpture, whatever. So it is an indicator. So, you know, I think what they try to do and what they told us to do whenever we go out into the society with other artists and so on, you know, so many people have the experience of submitting grants, and of course Farah and people who know about grant writing, there's like a lot of blood, sweat, and tears involved in writing a grant, because you actually have to do, like, I described it as like mental gymnastics, you know, like they have, you know, like say 50 points that they want to achieve by, you know, funding artists who are, you know, doing community engagement, that are educating, that are reaching out to diverse communities, and all these kind of like philosophical kind of, I guess, like criteria, you know, kind of deal. So, you know, the more people who submit, you know, it really does tell people that, well, we have to start looking at this part. You know, we have to start looking at, you know, at sculpture or at dance, and then, you know, there are things that we have to like kind of bridge the gaps. You know, like, so you know, the people have to submit their grants. You know, they have to you know, hope that they're going to get it, but if they don't get it, they can't be discouraged and they can't walk away and throw their hands up and say, I'm never going to do it again, because then the door closes even more, you know. So basically what I'm trying to say is that, you know, on our side, emerging artists, mid career artists, established artists have to just continue to submit applications, submit grants, and then continuously do it, and basically, you know, rattle the cage. We want our fair share, because we have something, you know, valuable to say and everything. So, you know, one thing that I took away from your talk this morning was, you know, that you know, that the idea of training people to write grants, training people to you know, to build capacity, and then to have the kind of it's a terrible thing to say, but it, like, they expect certain things in an application. You know, they expect a kind of like not an attitude, but yeah, they not an attitude. What I'm trying to say is that they expect a level of you know, professionalism, let's say, you know. And once people see it, then it's kind of like, oh, that's what you mean, you know, and then it is achievable. And you know, they have people at Canada Council in Quebec has CALC, I believe, the Conseil d'Art and Letters of Quebec, that will assist you, you know, and then you can even submit your proposals, and they will critique it. It's kind of like brutal, of course, you know, because it's like submitting your English paper, you know, to your teacher. You get the marks back, and well, you got to improve here, you got to improve there, and your budget is, you know, out of you know, out of line, or you're not asking for a little too much or too little. And anyway, so I think that you know, submitting grants and doing that kind of work is important, because it not only gets you money, but it also tells them that there's a demand, that there's you know, artists in certain fields that, you know, want to develop their careers. If that makes any sense at all. Sorry for rambling.
Sense, because of all of the grants that I've submitted, it takes a lot of work to know what they want, and you need to really call and talk to the people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've spoken to like well, I worked with recently with a she's like not a professional grant writer, but one of her specialties of all her things that she does is grant writing, and that's exactly it's kind of like being in class, you know, like you're taking a course and you have to find out what exactly does the teacher want in this essay, in this research paper, you know, and usually they spell it right out, you know. There's like 20 points, you know, and they want you to really hone in on those 20 points, and then, you know, kind of like develop your grant and the reasoning behind it based on those 20 things. And it's like, you know, so it's like the putting the squares into the square hole and the square goes in the square. You gotta like kind of like it's a little dance that they expect you to do, but you know, it almost goes with the territory, you know. So, but at the jury level, you know, they they will consider all of those things, but then you know, take into consideration, you know, a kind of like an Indigenous perspective. You know, like if an art project has to do with, you know, Indigenous knowledge and ways of knowing, and dabbles in you know, Indigenous medicines and all these kinds of things, kind of like a Euro-Canadian artist may not see any value. So why are you picking flowers, you know, and why are you doing all these things? What does that have to do with your art? Yet, you know, if there's a jury, people who know, you know, that, you know, picking flowers, picking medicines, doing these things, you know, have deep roots in our culture and our traditions, and even in some cases, you know, allows the art to be made, you know, then it kind of like, it makes a lot more sense. But you know, sometimes it's like, how do you say that in a grant in a way that they want to hear, that they want to hear it, you know? So it's a little bit of it's some work for sure. Some people have it right off, you know, and you see their grants and it's like, holy, they know exactly what the funding agencies want and are able to articulate it in those ways, and you know, then they're off and running. So anybody else?
Sorry, I got bumped a little bit.
What's that? Oh well.
I don't think you can hear me.
Wizogo, we've lost your picture. No, we
Do you
can
still hear
hear
me
you,
though?
but we've lost your picture.
Yeah,
I can hear
sorry.
you. I can see Tewenhni'tó, but I can't see you any longer, or we can't see you any longer.
Okay, I'm trying to log back on again. It'll be like half a second.
Can you see me?
Can you see Tewenhni'tó?
Yeah,
Yes.
but you're frozen.
Sarah?
Yes, we can see him, but he's frozen.
Oh, because we could see him moving.
Oh, now he's moving. He's alive.
Okay, there I am, I think. Again. Back again. Can you see me now?
Yay! Yes, we can.
Awesome. It looks like everyone's frozen. Yes, no?
Yeah, Tewenhni'tó, you're frozen.
Okay, so I think there's a lot of opportunities for artists, and I think I've gone actually to a few on how to set up proposal writing for grants, and then in the French sector. So if you're going to do what needs to get done, but in Quebec, it's really hard to get the English. And the other day, the young man that was speaking about what's happening through ELAN. That's really helpful because it'll help to actually open up the grant writing in a much broader and easier way for us. So there's a lot of opportunity, like I said earlier, and anybody with a good idea for creating art pieces that are reflective of culture or that will help other people understand our culture is really out there right now that people want to know. People want to learn about us. They want to know what happened. They want to see where we are now and not the imaginary romanticized natives. Like I had a while back, a couple of years ago, I was painting. I had my canvas outside and I was sitting outside and I was painting. And a car stopped in front of my house, and I'm pretty rural. I'm along the river. And the man asked me where the Indians lived. And I told him I was Indian, and he said, "You're not Indian." I said, "Of course I'm Indian." He says, "You don't have feathers growing out of your hair." And I thought that was really telling of how much the people actually don't know.
Stereotype.
It's very stereotyped, and that's what they believe. They don't see even like the negative stereotypes that are out there. They don't see that times have changed and people have changed, and we've rallied back around our own culture. And so by rallying around our own culture, we're living much more healthier lifestyles and much more relaxed atmosphere. I don't know if anybody heard me or because nobody's moving, there's no pictures, there's no sound.
Wizogo, we heard you. Your video is sort of like stop motion, but we did hear you.
That's how Martin's was.
Yeah, because everyone is just frozen.
Yeah, that's it's not easy for sure. I like again
Thank you
to
for speaking, and was really inspired by you.
I'm so sorry, Joa. We're keeping everybody silent and just letting the First Nations folks speak unless they invite us to make a commentary. Martin, you were about to say something?
Oh, I again too earlier, was it earlier today you talked a bit about it, about funding, about funding agencies and what they want. And you also sent something that very interesting and I found critical, you know, like not critical, but interesting. Alternative funding, you know, alternative ways, because I mean, people do that all the time, actually. You know, it's kind of like, you know, people make art on speculation for their own reasons. They exhibit their art in so-called alternative spaces, you know, in restaurants or cafes or in powwows or in hallways or, you know, that sort of stuff, you know. So, I mean, art is going to be made and it's also going to be displayed, exhibited, you know, wherever, online, what have you. And it's true, there are so many opportunities for young artists, emerging artists to do these things. You know, it's like, not to say, you know, money is good and agencies that supply money, I mean, there's no doubt that it isn't good, but that shouldn't necessarily, you know, prevent you from making art and displaying art and doing all these things. You know, so, I mean, there are opportunities there. And for emerging artists as well, you know, that, you know, they have to be reminded, you know, that, you know, you can do all these things. You can't do them all for free all the time, you know, and especially if it's an institution that has, you know, the funds, has the economic wherewithal to pay artists. They should pay artists, but, you know, there are still alternative places, like alternative spaces and things that individuals can do to get their artwork out there. I was invited a couple times to some interesting things, but then again, you know, it's like it has to be something that you can fit your schedule, your time into, and everything. There was an exhibition that people were organizing in the back alleys in the plateau. So they had decided that they're going to show an art exhibition in the alleys. They were going to dress up this kind of like beaten up, you know, basically the alleyways are like the dump trucks, right? People put their garbage out there and the dump guys would come and take it. So they kind of like cleaned it all up, put plants up there, and then had art exhibitions and lights at night and everything. So, you know, some things like that could be done. And, you know, like with Indigenous artists, with artists in the city, you know, these things can always be done. And there's no, it's like a zero budget, you know, a shoestring budget that these types of things can happen. And so I liked your comment about alternative ways of finding spaces. And I think if people were to, you know, to commit to doing stuff like this on a regular basis, then it could be known, you know, that people would be aware of it, you know, and say, oh, on, you know, the second Friday or Friday or Saturday of whatever month, you know, these people are going to have this alternative, you know, art event, and you know, eventually people would know about it and probably look forward to it, and it could have a, you know, the ability to be self-sustaining. Hello.
Because of the COVID, can you hear me?
Yeah.
What I was saying is that with the COVID, we've seen a lot of people doing pop-up shows.
Yeah.
Again. So it's similar to like to a little shop, but they're doing in their yard or out of their home. My experience has been that whenever I post anything up on my Facebook page and the Turtle site, whatever I have that I'm ready in like 3 hours tops. Doesn't matter how many units I have, they all get sold. So the market is ready for native art, and it's a matter of using the technology that we have. I mean, it's so broad nowadays. You can do a PowerPoint, you can go online, and you can do little pages on Facebook or on Instagram and put your things on there, and people are really ready to find who the native artists are and to pick up the work that they do have. So that's encouraging. And yesterday you were speaking about the number of people who are doing beadwork and what's happening with that. And right now they cannot keep up with their orders because I personally know about 15 people that are doing beading, and it takes a long time, and their prices are reasonable. They're not underpricing their work, and they are selling. So it's good to know those things and to take a look at where we could go from here. Whether it's setting up a group. There's several groups in Kahnawake, like there's Mohawk Beaters, there's yeah, the ones that are making the skirts, they have a little group together that they regularly post and ask questions to each other. It's more of a closed sites, but I don't think anybody's actually opened up to the general populations because, well, I actually don't know why, because I haven't either. I have things for sale and I put them up periodically. I do like a little pop-up sale, and yeah, I don't know why I don't have like just a general site of, I got stuff here if you want it.
Well, I know in the States there's that, anybody seen Beyond Buckskin? Yeah, Beyond Buckskin. You know, they're doing the international trade, and they've got vendors from all over Canada and US, and you know, people are selling it, and it's kind of, I think they bill themselves as like an indigenous, like Etsy. You know, Etsy is that craft and art marketplace online and everything, and it's like a native one. You know, I mean, that is something anybody could get into, but again, too, I haven't sold my stuff on there, but you know, those opportunities are there for sure.
Yeah.
Are you frozen again?
There's a new one too. It's called We, and then there's Witchy Chop, and also Witchy Top, which, but it's first thing. And the We Art is also a place for artists to sell, native artists. But they're actually relatively new, less than I would say about a month old. So they're looking for native artists to put their work on as well. So there's opportunity. It's just a matter of people putting their work on there. So I'm going to be putting my prints on there of my artwork.
Oh, very nice. I saw a notice that went across at the bottom of my screen, Farah, and someone made a comment, something like funny and sad. Anybody out there who wrote funny and sad as a comment?
Oh, yeah, I see it on mine. It's from Deep Tea.
I did.
Huh?
It's when, can I speak?
Yeah, sure. I'm curious what you meant.
No, it's when we were listening to the story about the person looking for the Indian.
Okay.
With the feathers. Because when I first moved to Canada, when I was 8 years old, and I moved here from India, everybody said to me that you're not a real Indian. So I didn't pass the test either. But it's sad to me that so many years later, we are still battling these stereotypes. So it's a little funny, but it's also very sad. I'm sorry, I meant no disrespect.
No, I was curious, like, was it something I said or?
No, it was listening to the story.
Yeah. Yeah, those kinds of things I think are very common. You know, it's not a slight on anybody, you know, kind of deal. I know that
I'm not sure where the
new Canadians too. I mean, old Canadians, you know, whatever, you know, they have all their stereotypes too. But for sure, you know, you get questioned about everything from language to history to culture to you know, assimilation to, you know, authenticity and all of these things. Again, too, like for us, for Indian Native people, that is like that's like everyday talk. You know, people talk about stuff like that all the time. And then to hear, you know, people from you know, ethnic Indians from Jamaica, you know, having kind of those same issues when they come to Canada, and they are Indian, but they never lived in India, and they have a Indian religion, and they may not have a language. And it's like, so are you a real Indian? You know, are you a West Indian? Are you, you know, so it's really, it's fascinating, I think, for us too, you know, like, to hear these things, because even here too, you know, in, like, say for instance for Montreal, you know, you have Indians, native people, indigenous people from British Columbia, you know, or the Yukon or wherever, and they're indigenous and they live in Montreal, and they're not in their territory, they're in Mohawk territory. And it's like, you know, can I talk about you know, these, you know, land rights here and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, this isn't your territory, you know, kind of deals. Maybe I don't have the right to talk about it. But so it is very, sometimes it's like confusing. Your head spins, you know, thinking about, you know, people's perceptions inside the group, outside the group, you know. You know, I think about powwow dancing sometimes, you know, where you have people who it is not their tradition, yet they are powwow dancers. Or the other day I was in Montreal on the plateau around St. Joseph and St. Hubert, I think it is, and I saw a totem pole. I said, holy mackerel, what is that totem pole? It was a totem pole. So it was someone, I think, probably a talented craftsperson, you know, might have bought a souvenir totem pole or saw a picture of one and carved out this incredible totem pole. And it didn't look like a hokey totem pole. It looked like it was, you know, the person did a lot of work. And it turns out that that's exactly what it was. It was at a renovation, a reno store, like a Home Depot type thing. And to drive home this idea that they sell wood and you can decorate your house using wood and everything, they use an example of a totem pole. So there it was, sitting in the middle of Montreal, a West Coast totem pole carved by probably a non-native craftsperson, you know, imitating a West Coast totem pole. So all of those issues of authenticity and, you know, what is appropriate and inappropriate, and, you know, all of these things are, you know, wrapped up in there. So, you know, it happens. And I think people, you know, I don't think there are any right answers or wrong answers. And, you know, I think through dialogue, people can kind of like make up their minds, I suppose. So that was my 2 cents on the funny and the sad. But interesting for sure, there's no doubt. Farah?
I remember when they had created maybe 4 or 5 blankets that were native content, and the native people asked them why they didn't get permission to do that, and they asked them who are they giving proceeds to from the sales, and they were just capitalizing on the culture. And so they asked them not to do that. And basically what happened was they recalled all the blankets from the stores that they had sent them to, and they created a market for the blankets that were out there that became like priceless now because there's not too many people who have them. So it's kind of a strange way of taking a look at who's allowed to use the symbolism and the imagery that we have in our stories. Who's allowed to do that?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any clear answers to that either.
No, I think it's like open for discussion. I mean, there are some things that some people shouldn't be making and selling and all that, like the masks and so on, you know. But you know, I think it's like it's open for discussion, and you know, I mean, I know an artist that loves the woodland style of painting, you know, like the Norval Morisot and all the Anishinaabe artists, and loves the colors and loves whatever, and incorporates small bits of it in their art, and it's beautiful. There's no denying that, you know, she's incorporated this stuff and she's made these things, and there's slight hints here and there of a woodland style sensibility, use of color and line and so on. But you know, I mean, it's like, you can't tell someone not to be creative in any way that they want to be, you know. It's like, but it's like, you know, if you sell it and if a family member sees it and objects to it, I think you have a moral obligation to not do it, you know, to take the hint and not do these things. But you know, I mean, still people can create and do things.
It'd be interesting to know what other cultures would think. Like, for example, if I started designing beautiful kimonos, or
Maybe art.
yeah, or doing designs for saris, for example, like what would?
Well, anybody there? Oh,
What would the other people think, being that I'm not from that culture?
I read an article a while back, and it was surprising to me, and I said, "Holy mac!" It's like, you know, again too, like the other day, people were talking, and I hadn't considered some of this stuff, and it's like once you hear it, it's like, holy, that really, it kind of like it changes the way I think. And so the article was about yoga and different styles of yoga. There's that hot yoga, and you know, they go into a steam bath or like a hot room, and they do all these things. And you know, it comes from an ancient Indian tradition, you know, that has been practiced in their culture forever. And then now it's gone around the world, and you know, there are these little yoga studios in every part of Montreal and Toronto and whatever. And you know, it's like totally separated from its original, the original people that used it, and they've kind of redefined what yoga is. And apparently, in India, and I guess among Indians living in North America, in the West, kind of deal, and who practice the real spiritual sides of yoga, are saying, well, maybe they shouldn't be doing this stuff. You know, maybe they shouldn't be practicing it, because it is not to say diminishing, but it's kind of like watering down what we see as truth and powerful power and that deep spiritual connection. And then at the same time, people say, well, they're flattered, you know, that people around the world have taken an art form and a spirituality and a physical, you know, kind of exercise that can heal them, you know. So it's like, I guess to some it's open for debate. Any thoughts out there? Does that make any sense?
Martin?
Way out in left field. Are you
No,
aware of these?
absolutely. It makes sense that we're Yes.
Are you aware of this? Are you aware of this debate about yoga, for instance? Okay.
Yes, the debate about cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation, that's an age-old debate that we've been debating in a lot of our cultures. But just to let you know that we've hit the time where if Doidoga would like to offer his closing ceremonies for us, that would be greatly appreciated, although we have lost his picture, Oizogo. I can see you, but not him. But before we transfer over, I just wanted to offer our thanks to all of the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit elders and participants who were here with us over the past couple days to offer their guidance, their thoughts, and also their feelings about what they've been seeing about in this symposium. So thank you very much for everything that you've offered us.
Yeah.
So we keep getting booted off. So if we just connect back. Okay, Vera?
Yeah, that's fine, Oizogo. We will contend with the technology.
Okay, so You can see him now?
Yes, we can, and we can hear you clearly.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll start the closing. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Negati chini kwali hota, negati nana katke. Ontava kia talore ke. Negati kitkuchi honte kali wateko onge wana hetsta. Onwa woni jarate wat kon horado chini zawati noa. Kaza wata honsa da ki chini chi otka wanina ko. Tano nene chini kwali hota, negati kon horado tsala wa katka wana agwe ko wat kon horado chini chi. Ka isa wes, tano chini chi tene These were tako ki na hodi I would be what the giani. Negati Oskagati, or do have no nico and gula than a tin horado and then suma. Now negati no horna, no honda to negati to what any gula negati ginu. Then you can stahaji hunjati, you cannot do. Negati agaha you kishi the gazaraka. Jinikali was got the watch the gaffo hunjaki. Negati ne to know a great deal of wahas and Gina hot. I'm going to Dernière. Then there's schooner Ginichi, I don't know Tunuke. Tikago de Gita Dagot Kamahaki, then in a hot. Think what different Joe. Hey, Gati. A sky to have no Nico and Nigura than got Holadunsla, I don't cover the Niki in Staha. From Javi, Tina Dunko, Negadi in a Goliva. To God the night talk the Nigo and Nigura. Dan noia, negati no. Negati genina de Chicanegalunia, from Jacke. Negati ne Yutsununia, the second net to Niut. By not Kawahaki now the such dashala. Negati nene Enaganya Talaga go. Then Niganya Talasas, then Oni, Nene Kanawagelu. Kanawagelu, then Gahi Hadeju. Ne agwe ne tenu, yet the Vaticana, and the water, Nene, am the Gumtkawe. Nene, and go at Dakota. Ne gati ne oni, Nene Ginu, Ginia good. Nene Ginu, you could chinuyata denu, Nene you kidney star. Negadi ne yagwana dunko. Ne tunu di dohas, negadi nene on the what's nawaruni. Ne gahnigiyo. Ne hone you tsununi, di seguni ne, the what's sonis, ne gahnigiyo. Negadi sky doha no nigo anigumla. Tana ne taitin horad nene kahihadenju, kanawagelu. The second in Trinidad, the substantial at the Amahaki. Negadi na honi oya, nene oli, to know the wahas, nene I do a kuni, I go hat the now, I do know how nene, you got Chilunia, say good in it to need, yet the other do what cardinals, you know, Tiganacalunia. Negi Tigago de say in it, then at Kamahaki. Negadi noya. Negadi noa. Nene Ginigaya, Nene Tugudidelo, Nene Gudilio, Nene Gujasu. The second in it to me, Dinat Kamahaki, or the Neho than out the war. Neno Nayawane, I wear the Ratsta. Negadi Tsununia, the second to what Solias, Nene Nahota. Honiki had Jinine. But you negate you in the body, you got the last year, you say go to what Solius, the Gakwa. Then out with no nigo and nigun, let out the managing Jena Dawolia, Ganonwako. The second in it to eat tigers, to God the night talk and nigo and nigun. Down in oil, negated Nenova, negated Ginigaya. Jinigundi, Nene Ajak took it in Atamoli. Neho ni Tuni Jutsununia, Seguye Tigers, Segui tienas. Nene na hota. Nene amdaguntka ne au di satstasara. Au di neho, au di waru. Segunene tuniut. Yudio do haki. Ofna yawa ne iskona ai wano tunyu. Nega diaska do ho no ni ko ni gung la di tino wala tu tini gung tinene acha aktuke di na tamole di segunene tuni ta na ka o haki. Na di satstasara. Tiga di na to ka ni ko ni gung la. Tana noia, nega di na hona tano i do warat. Jino di ka handa kes. Nene ne tano i tanonya. Di segunene tuniat. Do watsolias. Nene ka no ai do yoto. Onunko jino i duni. Ne tanonya di segutuniat. Dai nat ka o hagi nene ka handa so. Tano hona i do watsoli. Nene ji no asuma. Tada nene jini gaya nene ko ni gunasa. Tuti na tamoli. Tudun kutitero nene ka handa keso. Negati Oskai do no ni ko dai tino rato ni oli nene o ji no asuma jini ganga handa keso ti na tamoli. Tino ti dawahas nene ko tosala. Sego tuniot. Iti otake. Do na yawa ni iskona ai ko no tunyo tuka di na to ka ni ko ni kunga. Tana noya ne ka di no. Nene jinigaya nene tuka handa keso. Utitelo ne ka di nene ujina ko ta kwana. Ne ka di ne esu yote. Ne ka di na yawa ne ai ko kwaya zake. E minne askai to ho no ni ko ni kunga dai tino wala. Nene jinako nene tarhago de ka di na tamoli ne ka di nene gutillo no quali ska de ne honto kunde ne aguego ne gutillo nene o skeno ne Oti wado. Tana tika de jinichi ta na tika mo hake. Ne ka ne e tsununya di se di go tika pa hagest. Ne toka hagu di geto te. Tsununya di se gudi ne uti nakele. Ne ka ne na di satsta sala ta na tika mo hake. Ne ka ne no na yawo ne iskona jinichi ai to no tunjuke. Negati oskai to hawa nuni ko ni kunga. Ta negati tai tino warato. Nene kutilio. Negati nenu honi. Nene uchi to okunga. Nene ike. Keta duat katuni. Ne tunu o duat katu. Ina china kuni. Tino wene ugare suha. Ituni. Ugiaki nenu uchi taan kutikuanas. Nena auti wado. Tena auti stosi. Nene penat hake. Pane nestus zahani gumazas. Negune auti lana ne negitku iguatunde. Ne diuki ni kumlavoli ne datke yaskona ji te doano tunyo. Yaskona ji ni ji tingo tamale. Kenana e tiga tiga kunigunaza. Jini ji kutilona dakes. Negatine yuki ala kuhaniji. Seguze Skoda jiniat. Tuka noa nka uji kia dundi o mdohetste. Negi uji to agua ne audi satstansala o tkutka. Negati no na yawa ne skona lai duano tunike. Ji seguze tuniot. Os tatkarakvinaka. Iskarako. Tano skona jiniti yawara vena atste. Negati ne skona jinichi ai dono tuniki ne tuniot. Sa oyera jinichi Dawa nagala de tana sa yelo jini chil dawa do hitste. Ne gati ne tuli chila welo no ne. Ne gati ska to ho nuni ko ni ko dai tin ho rata ne no chito ko di sekunde ne tuli to de sa sa. Dai na tra ma ha ne gati no na ya wa ne sto na ago ha jini gari usko ni ko to de. Tengah jina to ni ko ni ko. Ana noya. Negati na hono tuni ya ito wa jino o yutuni wa jini kaya jini kuti na jina kare ka kwane kne ka jino ta wana kare yeke ta na kari ni wasen jini kuti jina te ka kuira ki yutuni na ka eso ne unu kwa ta na tka ma hake nene I kwa te ke hatsaka o. E so chini at the watchta. Wata ne honda tkunete. Nene ugre so ne tkunkelate. Ankara dukha ka kwitene. Ta ne chini kari ustikati ankara dukha. Skaksa bi dhamjaha ai to wane kira. Ne so wanisela. Ne gadi ne skenaji ni chi in goya dohale nene na ya wo ne ai goya dal ai goya da gari ge hake ne ho ne tunu ni ho ni ki ne no oge da watsta ai do de no soni ai do de no sadali hate dan jini gai nene Canada, negati che oggi la foto che come nessuno da una trama che non ha ne I guarda che haccia nulla da dai timorato che non da anche tra me na negati ne ni cavora che carini punti na negati ne tunu gitku e velas ne do na ya ono dosa na hota ne pioci a gayanta ne I ai bogaloni it's a moment to me Atste ajakta yesterday tano teniti io le cosche no che così io la taliha che cosche sake ma stato che c'era io ci ho di stassa la seguita in altra ma che ci ni ci si può dire un sacco di gente negati scritto non mi guarda nulla tano con la doccia le torte ho detto non lavorato non che di lavorati negati non ho sto za che negati io da Dakota non lo diveras negati non hori io sono non ho il tribunale che attuke uno da hetsto hake che to chilarekus io vuole da ci cavara sacste ti ca di la di hawi it's non ci ti secondo me ti la di sacste la da na hake non I guarda che haccia e adesso che do non I guarda nulla dai timorato ne la di velas negati quando sa che negati che to camera negati non è sto parole ne ora metto no io ce l'ho immagini e ti non ha ya tena e na hora tutto quello io c'ho bene quando la carta che non ho oppure non è io ti sto quello di secondo me che io so che ci dici Alex Solina Kilorish, to Nico. Jazani Hati, the Hadinako, Negati Sumana, second to Niats. You Kihawish Kanuna, Tukanikatke, that was an Horato. No, to Nikitku. The ways of men of what they got in it to know it. So, I don't think the second minute to meet all this substance by not go high, it's a little circling this about this. The Guardian talked to anybody. Down the oil, and the Guardian never take a rock of it. Go on, Gaia. Then Oscar, then you kiss it. You kiss it to not do. Nella assolutamente negative goswatete. Negative kahati apa kuliya chinichi istaga penyu. To umchaki. Akahani yuri chiyata kuliya chinichi la iksaguat. Ati kumsodaki. Nena ka. Akahani yuri chiyata kuliya chinichi te goswatete. Nana te kyo kara watchte. Negative is a hoda the other way, when you kiss it. I said to make a galak with the 7 years. I got substance that I got to come out here. Negative to know at home, I should always know, and hold it not on the water, then you kiss it. It's not what I looked at every night to work anybody. Then I know I never is a high end of it, negative honey yet. You know, and then Galako, negative Ramha. Nella di negativo dove swapte dove un giacche. Nelle cose che oggi da tattica nella sostanza. Dove asce dove negare il mondo, che è rinuovita, che si crede che dove da sono tola che. Tu non vuoi ne dico you keep store sostuat ne davanti. Quando sai cosa che carato. Mi wascilo te ne vede horke negare ne tuniet ci te di quatase carato quindi non so cosa negare ne questo ne ganga yanta ne cinue to na legno negare ne honen ne te che mi ci rosso te mi ci lavoro ci un taglio di tavola a una cosa ne quando ti danno un giacco. Negare il sovrano che ti segue te ne nelle che cacalacqua, ti segue te ne o sostanza la seguita da scamati, il sovrano. Negare non va a venire tanti ci guardate, ne che l'acqua, ti cade mai torte nei guardi. Negati na hoda sa ne che negati na negaili ni guede che ya kina tuko. Negati na no hagetskuti laudi ona so I quattro decadi. Nene no hane yu kihlori chinichi tai to watamari. Chinichi tkayeri chinichi ai to watati. Tkayeri chinichi na hota. Tai to watamari ka chinichi nai to waile. You kihlorish na hota nene tkayeri. Chinina china hota di behumjo nene skona chinichi ai to wanina ko. Negati it's doing it. This is negati ni guarda. Ne hoda tsino bohoni yaito chinu sikne lampo atako kochi kina hoda kai chinu chape. Lampa agwego dot kamahaki. En lo sasta sara. Tunichi tagun tamori ko huncha chinu hoda sakulifun ta agwego. It's a nuna chi ya tahota. The gaga yamasaha tukani ahatunte. Mene oni kokoni. Tega tenano ya oni waliwa. Nari honi git kanola donsra. Ai toatka nene skona na itu hage. Tina ti toatka nene skua disitane. Negatius ka to have noni tano. Tachi tono horado ne segue diso ci segue skona jiniat, what's a stuff that I thought to come hake, or I want this skona, I'll go hake. That is what we call the Hauntakaliwadekwa, and that is what is always said at gatherings, whether it be political or social dance. It's words that we give in thanks for what we have from the Creator, from all walks of life, from what is here on earth. And first we go to the waters and we give, first we go to Mother Earth and we give her thanks for all the things that she has provided for us, to help sustain us, to help give us strength, to help us live in peace. We give waters, the rivers, the streams, the brooks, the creeks, even the swamps. Everything has life in all these 5, 6 different places where we catch our fish, we catch our beaver, we catch our birds, and it's nice to see that they are still giving us life, still living out there. Then we go along the shore, we see other animals living in there. There's times where we need their meat, like the otter, the beaver. We need their sustenance, so we go after them. And we're always thankful when they do give us their last breath, because they know that it's for our sustenance. Then we go to the grasses. We go up the hill, up to where the flatlands are, and we see all the animals out there walking around, living. And this is the place where we have our gardens. And it's always so nice to see that they are giving us their sustenance. We have the gardens, we have the bugs are in there, the spiders, the snakes, all these things that are here that live in our chain of life. They have a right also. So with that, we have our gardens, and this is where everything grows. So we give thanks to the fields that she's given us all their sustenance. From there, we go to the animals. We see the bears, we see the moose, we see buffalo sometime if we're traveling out west. We see the wolves and the deers. And the deers are such a beautiful sight to see. And they're the ones that are the leaders of all the animals. They're the ones that give us their sustenance, their antlers, their meat, their bones. And all the animals know that they're here for us. And they almost like as if they give themselves willingly to us. And then from there we go to the birds, the bird life. We have the eagle, we have the turkeys, we have the pheasants and quails. These are all birds that give us sustenance, except the eagle. The eagle we don't kill. That's against our ways. Because he's the one of us, so we don't take him. But we have the smaller birds, the ones that have beautiful songs, and we listen to them and hear them in our time of sadness. They're the ones that remind us that 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 they are here, and this is their job to remind us that life is beautiful, and it helps us to get by the rough sorrow part of life. And then from there, from the bird life, we go to the trees. The trees are where all these birds nest. And the maple is the head of all the trees, because she's the one that gives us the sap and the maple syrup. The sap, as long as the maple is running, we take the sap and we have a cup of that every day. And what that does is it cleanses us. It's a cleansing drink that we have. And so every time that the maple starts to run until it ends, we have one cup of the cup, and we drink that. That's part of our cleansing for the winter. And then from there, we have all the other trees. There's some where we get our baskets from. There's some where we make our homes with. We heat our homes with also. You have your hardwoods and your softwoods. And we are grateful that they are still given life. Even though there's bugs that are trying to eliminate some of that, we're still grateful that we can still find them. Then from there, we go to the four winds, the northeast, west, and south. And we're grateful that we can still feel the warm breeze on our face when we're standing next to the river and we're looking about at all of creation. We're thankful for them. Then we have the thunderers. The thunderers are the ones that keep the bugs at bay, was it what we say. And it's nice to hear them in the spring when they start rumbling around, and you can see the lightning flashing, and you can hear the thunders. It gives us a good feeling, and for that we usually give tobacco for that, to acknowledge them that they're here again, and that we're glad to hear them. And in the fall, we see them go. We see that they've headed back south for the winter. And it's not too often that we hear the thunders during the winter time, but we have heard them. Even in the dead of winter, in February, we sometimes hear and see lightning. It's only on special occasions though. And then we have the stars. We have the 7 dancers to our ceremonies. And then we follow the stars for all different things. I mean, you have your North Star that guides us through the forest. If ever we're lost, we find our way. Then we have our 2 sons, our grandmother Moon and our brother the Sun. Our grandmother Moon, she has a lot of responsibilities. She's the one that takes all of the roll on to light up the night. She also has the responsibility of seeing the children being born into this world, and she also controls all the lakes and rivers with the rising of the tides and the lowering. She is very powerful. And then from there, we look at our son. And right now, he's starting to wean back off on his strength. He's starting to slow his strength back down. We don't have the heat wave that we had a month ago, and into from May and June. We are grateful that he was here, that he heated us for the summer, he kept us warm, and we know that eventually his strength is going to wean out. And that's the way life goes. That's the way life is. Then we have our 4 sacred beings. The 4 sacred beings are the ones that keep us in check of how we live in this world. They are our conscience. They are the ones that tell us not to speak this way because it will hurt somebody, or not to say things or think of bad things to say or do. They're the ones that keep us in line. Then we get to the Creator, and the Creator is the one that has made all of these things for us. He is the one that has made all the things that give us strength, sustenance, and that keep us healthy, and that He has not taken anything away. And if there's anything that does go away, it's our fault. We're to blame, like the extinction of some animals. Creator is not to blame for that, we're to blame. And with that, that is the Hondagari Wateko. It's a Thanksgiving address. It's not a prayer. We leave that to the Christians to pray. We give thanks for everything that is given to us by Him. And that's the end of the closing ceremony. Nyamako for letting me and Owizoga be a part of this, and we really enjoyed our times here. Sometimes it was very funny, and sometimes it made us really think. And Nyamako, thank you very much.
Thank you to you. And at this point in time, what I would like for everyone to do is, if you can open your sound, unmute yourself, and if you could just say the one word that is thank you in your language. So the one word that is thank you in your language, either verbally or with a gesture. So just one word, because then we're going to go on to another program. If your sound is unmuted, I will call upon you, and then we'll go to the next one. So Leticia.
Muchas gracias.
Ken. Ken.
Beautiful.
Amrita.
Dhanyabad.
Khosrow.
Sabas.
Joa.
Culture.
Joyce.
Respect. This is the Chinese
May.
gesture.
May.
谢谢
Intisar.
شكرا
Janet.
Ojasai.
Hold on a sec, Tiviani.
Felicia.
Salamat.
Jad.
Merci Tochana.
Karine.
Merci.
Kiran.
Dhanyabad. Namaste.
Anne.
Merci.
Dipti.
Shukriya. Namaste.
Karian.
Merci beaucoup.
Sangeeta.
Shukriya. Namaste.
And Tashkor. Thank you so much for everything that you offered for us. It was absolutely beautiful, as well to Martin, who is here as well. Thank you so much. And so at this point in time, like we had discussed with Owizogo as well as Tewenhni'tó, that the best way to end off is in celebration. And we're going to be celebrating through our artwork. So that's the reason why normally if we were in an in-person gathering, we would have a celebration. We'd actually planned a little bit of a powwow gathering, but we'll do that at some other point in time when we can meet together. This was something that was actually an idea from Owizogo, but because of the pandemic, we couldn't actually accomplish that. So instead we decided we would do a quick online cabaret, so a speed cabaret. So this means that you only have 90 seconds to present. So, Karine, can I put you in charge of the 90 seconds to say when it is time, if for those people who are actually presenting live? Everybody knows Karine. Karine is the new general manager at the Festival Accès Asie. We've already got some planned participants for this section, but at the same time, if there is somebody who wants to do an improvisation for 90 seconds, you can drop it in the chat, and if we've got some spots left, then we can put you in. And of course, that's first come, first serve. So before we start that, I just want to check and see how everybody's doing.
Good.
Can you give me a thumbs up? We don't actually have the reaction button because since this is a different type of mode. And before we go forward is that I just wanted to introduce to you Josh and also Sasha, who have been behind the scenes organizing all of the technology that we've been working on through this platform. So can we give a round of applause to Josh and Sasha? Josh, did you want to say hello?
Hello, thank you so much. I'm glad that it went off and everything was successful and everyone had a great time. I'm really happy about that.
So I just wanted to let all of you know who are here in this online cabaret that for our opening ceremonies, we had 200 people coming in and out of our opening ceremony. So that is quite a massive number. We had more than 300 people register. Yesterday, we had more than 30 breakout sessions. In fact, we had more than 40 breakout sessions with more than 150 participants. And we also had around 500 participants go to all of the panel discussions and presentations that were on Friday. And plus, those are still available for the replay. For those of you who'd like to watch them over and over and over again, they are still going to be up and running until the end of October. So we've had a number of people engage in this symposium. So we're definitely appreciative of everything that you have offered for us. So now we're going to kick off our online cabaret with a video by Roger Sinha. Can you get that up and running for us, Josh?
I can, just 1 second.
I'm not shut here. I'm not shut this one.
No, I'm not on here anymore. Easy, you are. It's okay.
Okay.
See, I'm right here. Keep fire. I don't mind at all. At the end, she's gonna talk to you.
We're gonna have to mute everybody.
Sorry, just 1 second, just getting the audio here.
No problem.
Thank you very much for that offering, Roger. And we can do the sign language version of applause since you are all on mute. Does everybody know this sign? Yes? This is how you do applause in sign language. All right, you can learn little bits and pieces. Again, if anybody would like to offer in the chat, already a few of you have put your names down. You're more than welcome to let us know. We're trying to give as much access as possible. For those of you who know this symposium and know this festival, we try to open up the ideas of what exactly is art and culture. And so what I would like for you to do right now is drop in the chat what you consider to be art, culture, and heritage. Can you name something in the chat? We just saw dance happen. And so what is something that means art, culture, and heritage to you? You can start to drop them in, list them, and let's see where the commonalities are in that. And of course, we are going to move on with the presentations. So I just want to make sure, is Kimura here? Kimura was here before, so we're just going to wait a little bit on that one. We're next going to show Oizogo. Oizogo, you have a presentation for us?
Karian is going to be sharing the presentation, from my understanding.
Yes. I sent it by email.
Perfect, thank you.
I just need the access to share my screen, please.
It seems you're a co-host, Karian. Is it working?
I just saw it pop up. Oh, there it is. Jumped in the middle.
Thank you very much for that, Oizogo. That was really beautiful. And of course, if anybody is interested, I can see Tewenhni'tó doing the applause behind her head. If anybody's interested in any of those paintings, Oizogo is in Kahnawake, and I'm sure she'd be happy to show you around her studio once the pandemic ends, and also when things are more available. So at this time, we're going to move right along. Again, this is a speed cabaret, so we're doing things super fast so we can try and give as much access to people as possible. So next, we have a video by Kimura. Can we get that queued up, please, Josh?
Sorry about that. I couldn't unmute on Zoom, but now we are up and running. Here we go.
Thank you.
Sorry, 1 second. Looks like Windows Media Player is having an issue. There we go.
Il est difficile de le nier, le préjugé racial existe. En général, il n'est pas agressif, il s'agit seulement d'un certain regard, d'une certaine façon de s'exprimer. Ces propos sans gravité, ces regards révélateurs, imaginez-vous leurs conséquences. Avez-vous essayé de vous mettre dans la peau d'un noir, d'un jaune, d'un arabe, d'un juif? Vous est arrivé que des gens vous disent « retournez d'où vous venez » Est-ce que vous avez eu l'occasion de souffrir du fait que vous étiez jaune et pas blanc? Est-ce qu'il y a des gens qui vous ont quelquefois fait des réflexions? Ça ne vous regarde pas. Ça vous fait rien? Ça fait rien, ça ne regarde pas. Rentrez par là, sortez par là, c'est tout. Vous n'essayez même pas de discuter avec eux? Non, non, c'est pas la peine. C'est pas la peine, vous croyez que... Non, c'est pas de discuter avec eux. Si j'ai discuté avec eux, c'est comme... C'est pareil. C'est comme si vous étiez comme eux. Ils ont peur, les gens?
Thank you very much for that, Kimura. Everybody is trying to cut their videos to 90 seconds. We just, so you know, had a little bit extra for Oizogo because Oizogo was going to be sharing that PowerPoint presentation with you on Saturday, but because of a complicated connection, we didn't get that happening. So we gave the space to do that right now. But everybody else only has 90 seconds to do their presentation. Anyways, so we're gonna move on. And I see that there's some people who are asking if they can present in the chat to me and also sending me questions. That's absolutely fine. You're more than welcome to do so. We'll try to fit in as many of you as possible. But next up, we have a live presentation, I believe. Is réflexion with Amy Dakota here? Catherine, do you see them here?
I don't know. I think we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but not by much. I'm not sure what's happening, but maybe we can do other people and come back to them.
No problem. At this point, then I'm going to offer that Amrita, you wanted to offer a poem? Amrita, we can't hear you.
This is a poem written in the 1900s by the poet Tagore. He was a mystic, a spiritual teacher, and also a revolutionist. And it is about the colonization of India. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my mother, my father, let my country awake. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Amrita. So I wanted to check in just because I know that those people who are watching it on the replay don't have access to the chat. There's a couple comments that came through in the chat that I just wanted to alert you to. Everyday objects are embedded with our values. Bottled water, designer labeled, already cost more than oil. Also, there's a comment here that says culture, values, tradition, and spaces. It represents our identity and our bond to the past. And there's another comment here that people and their marvelous contributions to us all. There's another comment that says, I hope many children get to enjoy this story. That's referring to Oizogo's PowerPoint that she offered. And also, then we wanted to go on. So, Karine, do you see them here now?
I do not. I just contacted them to ask, send them the direct link. Maybe they had trouble finding it. Hopefully they'll join us soon.
Okay, and also I just wanted to check in, is Phyllis here? Karine, I believe that you were speaking with Phyllis a few minutes ago.
Yeah, Phyllis, I have a difficulty right now to find the link, so we need to wait a minute.
That's absolutely no problem. As you know, this is a brand new technology for the majority of us. So we are doing our best to try to handle the technology and at the same time have some fun together. So how many of you out there are missing in-person events? That's my question. How many of you out there are missing in-person events? Woo! Yes. So we will see what will happen in the future, what's going to happen with the next Festival Accès Asie event, which would be the 26th edition of the Festival Accès Asie. We will see if we'll be able to do it in person or online. There are a number of factors involved which we will check in. But before we move on, I just wanted to alert you to the fact that Khosrow is sitting there, and I'm not sure if many of you know that he is actually a painter and visual artist. So Khosrow, do you mind altering your camera a little bit so people can see some of the paintings behind you? And if you want, you've got 90 seconds to present them, and Karine will tell you when your time is up. So Khosrow's sound is muted. Khosrow, did you want to unmute your sound?
Here we go. Do you see it well?
Yes, very well.
So this is a large painting on wood, about 2 meters large, 2 meters long and 1.5 meters high. It somehow represents the tapestry, and the figure in the middle are a couple that are in the mood of making love under the sun. This is another one. Portrays a woman who is at the same time human being but an animal. Her hair has become a bird who is looking into her eye, And in front of her, there is this person who is half human, half animal. And on his back carries the sun. They are in a dialogue. Was this good enough?
You're at 90 seconds. Yes, perfect time, Khosrow.
Excellent. Thank you.
Perfect timing. Thank you very much for that, Khosrow. And
Thank
at this
you.
point in time, we're going to continue on. So Khosrow, for those of you, as I mentioned, he is a visual artist as well as the director for the Festival Accès Asie. At this point, we're going to move right along to Himmat. Himmat, can I get you to do your presentation, please?
Absolutely. I should just say I'm going to take 1 minute and 45 seconds instead of 30. So hopefully that's okay to have 15 more seconds.
Kevin,
So
what do you think?
So I'm going to read a poem.
Do we give him permission?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'll give you permission for those extra 15 seconds.
Thank you. That's really appreciated. So I'm going to read a poem from the piece that I'm working on called Panj, which means 5 in Punjabi, which is a piece that deals with how I'm dealing with the loss of my father. So before I read the poem, I'll just show you this picture of him. That's him at the Taj Mahal looking across from the other side of the river. So I just found that photo a couple of days ago. And it's really a moving picture, as you can see. Okay, so I'll get ready to read my poem. Okay. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR. The gentle sounds of a string quartet filter through my headphones, taking me slowly back to landscapes recomposed and replayed in my mind. A click in my left ear followed by a click in my right ear. Click, click, left, right, like a metronome, rigid, unwavering. My synapses re-trigger in rhythms that know nothing of string quartets, syncopating with the clicks, talas in 7/8 or 5/4. I start to feel connections light up again and energy surge through my brain. Then tears come like the monsoon, washing away my pain, soothing my soul. I know now that my father was happy, proud of his son. I can feel his smile, the approval, the unspoken confirmation of his love for me. As I sift through photographs of him and others that he took, I know now that it was always there, but it was just unspoken. Today, as I contemplate photographs of birthdays, special occasions, holidays, and travel, I see deed after deed, act after act, all done in love, not out of duty, but without words. I wander through my memory searching. I remember his silent anger and how it consumed him, like fire, exploding in rage, my fear crippling me utterly. I'll never know his silence or where his anger came from, but today, in my silence, I can feel him near me, but I feel no fear, only love. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Himmat. And so Panj is going to be presented as part of the 2022 edition of the Festival Accès Asie. And if any of you want more information about that performance, you're welcome to contact Himmat or myself, and we would be happy to give you more information on that one. So next, we're going to move right along. And sorry, I'm just trying to, at the same time, just check in with Josh, just because there's some people who are apparently trying to get into the meeting, and there's a warning that's saying that the meeting is already in progress.
Yes,
so is there something that you can open up?
Yes, I'd sent you a message about it earlier because the online cabaret is actually a different meeting. So this one's still the closing ceremonies meeting. So the others might be trying to get into the online cabaret. So if they try to get into the link of this meeting, the previous meeting, they'll be able to come in.
Okay, so can you check and see if there are many people in the waiting room? Because we had actually set this up. This is a technical thing. Sorry about this, everybody. We'd actually set this up so that one could go into the next, to the next, to the next. So it's the same meeting. But if there was a difference in the way that it's set up. Let's try to figure it out.
So to get the
So can
rest
you
of them
see if there
in,
are other people waiting for the other room?
we can't because we'd have to end this meeting to start that one to see if there's people in that one.
Can we share the link towards the previous meeting in the chat because I can't find it on the website anymore?
I can share the
Just
link
so I can
right
send.
now.
Thank you so much.
So what we can do is, if everybody feels comfortable, is we're going to shift into the other meeting room. Is that okay for everybody? Yes? So we'll wait for Josh to put the meeting link in the chat, and everybody can cut and paste that link. And then we'll go into the other meeting.
Yeah, it'll just be 1 second. I'm just going to get that link here.
No problem.
Okay, so I'm putting the link into the chat now. So if you click on that link in about a minute or so, I'll have that room right open.
Okay, thank you very much. And so hopefully we will see you all back in 1 minute. See you soon.